This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Welcome back to Game Planning Tips. Each week we bring you ideas and teaching from coaches who are shaping how the game is played and taught. Today's episode, presented by Lawrence First and Goal Foundation, focuses on 3 critical areas that define championship programs: red zone execution, defensive culture, and special teams detail. On offense, Joe Moorhead, head coach at Akron, shares how his red zone and RPO system creates clarity and confidence for players. On defense, Mike Elko, head coach at Texas A&M, explains why championship defenses are built on effort, habits, and accountability, not just scheme. And on special teams, Sean Saturnio, special teams coordinator at Army West Point, breaks down his ABCs of punt blocking, showing how pressure, discipline, and hidden yardage create real scoring opportunities. We start on offense with Joe Moorhead, one of the game's most respected play callers and offensive architects. In this segment, Coach Moorhead explains his approach to the red zone, how he divides the field into planning zones, organizes calls, and uses RPO structure to create conflict while maintaining simplicity for the players. He calls it the balance between complexity in presentation and clarity in execution. Here's Coach Moorhead on red zone mastery and the RPO mindset.
Okay. All right, next thing I want to talk about is what we define as our red zone areas. All right, so from the -1 to the 10-yard line is backed up for us. From the 11 to the plus 36 is what we call freewheel. Okay, then once we get into what we call the fringe, that's the plus 35 to the plus 26. And to me, this is really the last area on the field where you can take a shot into the end zone. A lot of people call this the logo area. We call it the fringe. And in terms of what we're doing and how teams are playing us, we've consistently seen in that fringe area people defending you for the most part like they do up the field. The fringe area game plan from the 35 to the 26 in most instances mirrors what you're going to see on first, second, and third down in the freewheel zone. So that is a place where we like to take shots, where we like to throw the ball and push it down the field, and pretty much from the defense see what you see in the regular freewheel area. The next area down is what we call the red zone, which is from the plus 25 to the plus 16-yard line. And from a defensive philosophical standpoint, this is where you start to see a little bit more pressure and maybe a little bit more one high, a little bit more non-conventional looks than you see in the fringe area or up the field, with the thought process that they're trying to close up the middle, 1, or 2, they're trying to create some pressures to knock you out of field goal range, particularly at the higher end of the red zone. Okay. The next place that you see is what we call the tight red zone, and that's going to be from the plus 15 to the plus 6-yard line. And for teams that kind of have a quote unquote goal line or tight red zone defense, this is usually the point of demarcation, and maybe it gets a little bit tighter to the 10 than it is the 15. Where if a team's going to play what we call, 4 bracket, where they're going to play the 7 across and rush 4, and usually pair that with a 0 blitz, this is the point in time where that's usually going to show up. We're going to see 4 across or 7 across, kind of bracket defense, and then pairing that with 0 pressures, because it's a pretty good disguise. And then some people, once again, depending on the team, they're going to stay in their base game plan. All right, goal line is from the 5 to the 1. And to me, that's always been offensive personnel contingent. You get into 21, 12s, and we're at UConn 23s. You're going to see a matching of personnel and probably a little bit more heavier fronts. If you continue to stay in 11s, 10s, and 20s, you're going to see a base defense, but a more condensed version of it, where some of those too high zones turn into what I call 0 locks, and you get the constriction of space in order to get 8 people around the box against a set where you only have 6 blockers, talking about with an attached tight end and then adding the 7th with a running back. So that's part of our game planning process. We go through that for a first and second down exercise and then third down. And then we have, like I said, a fringe game plan, a red zone game plan, a tight road zone game plan, and a goal line game plan, all contingent upon how the defense has presented itself in our breakdown. Okay. This is an example of our call sheet. As you can see, our fringe package, plus 25 to the plus 36. Our red zone package from the plus 25 to the plus 16. Our tight red zone package from the plus 15 to the plus 6. And then if you look to the left, you'll see our goal line, which is from the plus 5 to the plus 1. The top portion above the dotted line, those are 4 runs. The lower portion below that is going to be 4 passes. And then what we try to do for the most part is mirror our first and second down calls in the red zone. Or I say the red zone, I'm talking about all of the areas combined with what we have on our first and second down game plan up the field. So in a lot of ways, you're getting extra reps. You're creating the extra looks for the quarterback, where you're repping it against the primary coverage, the secondary coverage, and some of the blitzes. So when you see that fringe area, all of those top 4 runs were in the base game plan, as were those four passes. Now, as you get down into the tighter areas, the red zone, the tight red zone, and the goal line, that becomes a little bit more game plan specific, because that is when the defensive approach changes relative to what they were doing in the free roll area or the fringe area. Okay, so in the red zone area, the top 4 runs and the bottom 4 passes there, what is applicable to what we were doing on first and second down up the field will continue to show up there. But, starting in the red and then getting into the tight red zone, those are going to be things that are a little more game plan specific. I don't want to say tricks, but things where you've got to be ready to, account for non-traditional defensive looks. So once again, in the fringe area, 4 runs, 4 passes, and we've had that as many as 5 to 6. They don't always have to match up formation to formation, but it helps when it does. And then on the goal line, once again, you see we were for this game. I think it was a Washington State game. We were all 12 down there, and I think we only had one series of plays in the goal line area this year where we didn't get a touchdown. And unfortunately, that was against Cal, one of the games we lost. But we've had a very high success rate inside the goal line, utilizing 11 and 12 personnel. The one thing that is, I would say I use this not as a hard and fast rule that you can call plays that don't show up in this specific game plan. But the thing that I found is when you can narrow your focus into the best of your best calls. So once we cross into one of these areas, I ask my guy in the box, all right, where are we? All right, plus 28 fringe. I'm going to flip to the fringe section of my call sheet, and I'm usually going to work from there unless there's something that we had up the field, maybe in the second quarter or later in the game that we feel is appropriate and good there. Okay? All right.
Great offense is about finishing drives. Great defense is about building habits that prevent them. Our next guest, Mike Elko, head coach at Texas A&M, has built elite defenses everywhere he's coached, from Wake Forest to Notre Dame, Duke, and now College Station. Coach Elko's system starts with effort and fundamentals. His defense is defined by habits, pursuit, tackling, and ball disruption, all measured and reinforced daily. He reminds his players that it's not the call that wins, it's the culture. Here's Coach Elko on building a championship defense through culture and fundamentals.
Basically, what I want to talk to you guys about today is just philosophy and fundamentals of what I think it takes to be a great defense. I get asked this question a lot of times, Coach, what scheme do you guys run? What are the plays you guys need to run? What are the great blitzes you guys need to run? Philosophically, for me, when you're building a great defense, there's some base principle fundamentals that I think override anything you're ever going to do schematically to be successful on defense. And so as we talk through what makes a great defense for us, okay, the first thing is this, and everyone talks about this, but it can never go undermentioned. Okay, you have to have a group that plays with all out effort 100% of the time. Okay, in modern football, it is hard to be good on defense. offenses are attacking you sideline to sideline, RPOs, they're blocking our defenders as we're trying to cover people, tempo. There's a lot of things that are stacked against playing great defense in the modern game. The one thing that we have to force our kids to buy into to be extremely successful is that we are going to play with all-out effort 100% of the time. That's got to be a given, okay? The next thing then becomes understanding angles of pursuit. So the next biggest thing to us about being a great defense is you have to limit explosive plays. You've got to force offenses to travel down the field and be efficient and effective for long periods of time. One of the biggest things that we feel leads to negative play or explosive plays is lack of understanding angles of pursuit. If I'm an inside-out ball carrier, how important it is that I stay that way. If I'm the force player, how important it is that I force the football. Making sure that we're constantly understanding those angles and how they affect things, okay? We have to be a great tackling team, okay? We've got to be able to create ball disruptions. We've got to be able to disrupt the football, which ultimately is what leads to turnovers, okay? We've talked about eliminating big plays. So those 5 things to me are the principles that every great defense needs to have. If you don't have those 5 things, you don't have a chance. And so the reason why we talk about this stuff is as we devote practice time, as we talk about what we're going to do with our scheme, we have to make sure that we're able to emphasize those 5 things because those 5 things are the musts. Then from there, like, you've got to be fundamentally sound in your scheme. You've got to be fundamentally sound with defending the run, defeating blocks. All of that stuff certainly plays a role. That's for another day. We want to focus on those top 5 things to start. All right. And so all of that ultimately allows us to eliminate big plays and create turnovers. And so what we do is we chart this stuff on a daily basis. Okay. We want to create the culture that we're looking for. And so on a chart, we will put up lack of swarm, right? Any type of lack of effort. We don't run hard or we don't properly leverage the football, okay? That's extremely important to us. So that goes up on a chart. Johnson, team number 1, play 3, had it, right? That way there's no disputes. If the kid wants to argue with it, he certainly has the right to go argue, okay? And we'll debate and we have some fun with this stuff. But none of it is random. None of it is coach is in a bad mood, and so he's just throwing tallies up on a chart. It's all very specific, okay? Any lack of execution, okay? Smith, Skelly, play 4, MA. Jones, Skelly, play 3, okay? Missed tackle. Any lack of execution, right, falls into that category, right? Same thought process. Want to make sure mentally we're doing the things we're supposed to do, right? Then ball disruptions. Any type of ball disruption that we just showed, a strip attempt, a tomahawk attempt, fumble recoveries, obviously, hook and gloves, hook and punch, anytime we mirror hand, anytime we engage mirror, anytime we free mirror, anything that we do at all that is a ball disruption, not turnover, not, hey, we caused a fumble. No, we should have 50 to 60 ball disruptions every practice. Guys stripping at it, guys ripping at it, guys creating the culture. And then what we do is we take all of this together. You get -1 for everything up here. You get +1 for everything down there. Okay. Any actual turnover we get, you get +2. If you ever create a touchdown in practice, you get +6. All of that comes up to a number, right? Anywhere from +10 to -40 on a bad day in the middle of camp, right? And so that number becomes a payment. Any plus, they can put it in a bank, they can move it forward, they can use it when they want. Any minus, we're going to pay the piper with their coach after practice doing up downs. Okay. And it's not derogatory, it's not in their face, it's not yelling at them. This is what we believe winning football is. Okay. And for us to be a successful winning football team, these are the things that we have to do to be successful. Okay.
On special teams, the same mindset applies. details win. Sean Saturnio, special teams coordinator at Army, brings passion and precision to how he coaches the punt block and return unit. At West Point, they treat punt block as the first offensive play, a chance to change the game through pressure, discipline, and hidden yardage. His ABCs of Punt Blocking, attack, block, or bust, and capture the field, simplify a complex phase and connect every rep to the scoreboard. Here's Coach Saturnio on the ABCs of Punt Blocking and winning hidden yardage.
So we view punt block as that first offensive play in a series, and the technique and execution that we do will put our offense in the best possible scoring position by winning the field position battle and shortening the field. Now, every special teams unit in the country has got something similar to this. Our first four really are what we hang our hat on in this unit. Notice, we don't call ourselves a punt return team. We call ourselves a punt block team because that's the ID we have. So the first four basically tie into that. 1, block a punt. 2, force a bad snap or shank punt. 3, force a 35 yards or less net punting average. 4, force the punter to have a lower punting average than he had coming into the game. Now, not a lot of people talk about this, but I think that's a big way too, where you can look at these hidden yardage battles that you're going to have to face every Friday or Saturday, depending on, what level you're coaching at. But we think that's an extremely important part. Now, this year, we had some great improvement from the previous year in those phases. And, continuing on as it goes more down toward the return part of being able to field all our punts clean and, use great ball security when we do secure it. Try to get a first down or big play on every return. If there are any fakes, we want to make sure we stop them. And then to avoid penalties and be 100% on all our assignments. So going into our comparison, you can just see from last year to this year, we've improved tremendously. We didn't have any blocked punts last year, so we couldn't get rated. This year, our guys really worked at all the different skills that we'll be showing in this presentation. It allowed us, to block 3 punts this year, which tied us with 4 other teams in the country. And we jumped up because of that, 85 spots in punt returning. We went from just having a 2.64 yards per return last year to 9.24. And I think a lot of big reasons when you do pressure a kick, one of the big reasons, again, it forces guys to stay in the block. So if you got a guy back there who can return, who can obviously field the ball first and foremost, and if he's able to do anything, you're going to be able to get some yardage over there. But like we said, too, being able to win the field position battles because we forced, either block punts or we forced the punter to be below his average or shanking punts. This year, our opponents averaged 35.1 yards per punt. So we ended up reaching that one objective that we had going in. Now, I love quotes. I used to teach English in high school at times, and I think, the kids love them. Any type of quote, whether it be
3 coaches, 3 lessons that remind us what great football is built on: clarity, discipline, and detail. From Coach Moorhead's structure in the red zone, to Coach Elko's daily defensive standards, to Coach Saturnio's relentless approach to special teams, each of these segments drives home the same truth: championship performances start with championship preparation. This episode of Game Planning Tips was presented by Lawrence First and Goal Foundation, supporting pediatric brain tumor research and families affected by cancer through football. To learn more or register for this year's clinic series, visit lawrencefirstandgoal.org. Thanks for listening, and good luck as you build your game plan for the week ahead. We're proud to partner with the best companies that serve coaches. For your in-game analytics, go to modernfootball.com. When you win it all this year, Signature Championship Rings provides you a great design within your budget. Use Story of the Season for a modern version of the media guide and a way to raise $20,000 to $40,000 for your program. Go to storyoftheseason.com. Sideline communication is critical. Our partner, the Headset app, has figured out how to do that at a fraction of the cost. Check out what they do at theheadsetapp.com. Go Route offers you a way to call plays in games now if you're in Texas, and Gridiron Scout is the premier way to get plays into practice and eliminate scout cards. Check it out at goroute.com. And finally, Titan Sensors gives you the analytics you need for your players on player development and understanding their physical needs. Check out all of our sponsors and our content at coachandcoordinator.com.